captivated us with her authentic Asian flavors and techniques. So many obstacles to overcome. The flavor's amazing.
Yes, chef.
You cook like an angel.
You continue to impress and amaze us. That is a great dish. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Christine.
That was so cool. Christine Ha made Houston proud when she won MasterChef Season 3. She had more on her plate than other contestants. Christine is legally blind. Today, we get to taste her twist on Vietnamese food at her 2 restaurants, Dinh Chow and The Blind Goat. She joins us with more on her incredible journey and the connections we make through food. Good morning.
Good morning, Deborah. Thanks for having me.
I love watching you react to that bite. You've seen it, obviously, but it may have been a while. But what were you thinking about when you heard that?
I mean, it was just a whole whirlwind, and I was just relieved, I think, in a lot of ways, because I had a lot of self-doubt, and I had just started losing my vision not long before that, so it was a boost in confidence, I would say.
Yeah, wow, you boosted a lot of people's confidence by us watching you go through that journey, which, let me back up our story, our history, right? Born and raised in Houston, but your parents were Vietnamese refugees, so you had the combination of both worlds. What did they tell you about life in Vietnam and how they had to get out?
I mean, I learned a lot about the days before the fall of Saigon, and it was just, my dad would tell me stories about how he would hear missiles overhead, and it was like constantly living under stress. My parents actually fled. My dad ran over to her house and asked for her hand in marriage the day they left, and then they ran off to the port, got on a U.S. naval ship, fortunately, and then left there and were afloat at sea, got to the Philippines, then to Guam in a refugee camp, and then to Pennsylvania at first.
Yeah. How much did you appreciate that story at that time? Because as teenagers, we're like, oh, okay, right? My parents would talk about life on the cotton farm. I was like, okay. But, how much did you appreciate it then, and how much do you appreciate it now?
Not really then, because to me, it was just kind of listening to a story, not understanding how much my parents had to go through.
How many miles in the snow did you have to walk to get to school?
Exactly.
Type of story? Yeah.
And then now, looking back, I'm like, oh, this is what they had to go through. I understand their thought process and why they wanted me to follow a certain educational path and make the most of the life that they were able to give me coming here.
Yeah. You've had more than a few challenges in life.
Yes.
Your mom passed away when you were fairly young. And when you started cooking, it was a connection to her.
Yes, it was really about trying to recreate the Vietnamese foods that I grew up eating. Of course, growing up, I was straddling these 2 different generations and cultures. And so at home, I was never Vietnamese enough at school. I mean, never American enough. And at school, I didn't feel, Vietnamese enough or vice versa.
Right, because you're American, which people keep forgetting. Yes, you're Vietnamese-American, but you're American. You're born here. Right?
Yes, yeah. And I thought it was an either or, and it wasn't until I was older that I realized I could be both. And so for me, it was really about capturing the essence of the foods I grew up eating, the stuff that I used to be ashamed of, like the smelly fish sauce, the things that were strange, like pork belly.
Girl, ask me about
oxtail.
chitlins. Yeah, I know. Pickled pig feet and chitlins showed up at my house. I was like, what is that? Right? And, but yeah, I totally share that, the folk foods that we had on all of our cultures. All right, so you head off to college. You're cooking because there was that connection, and you were looking for, as you said, that kind of authentic food.
Yes.
But then something started happening with your eyesight, and at first they thought it could have been MS, which is one of the symptoms, right?
Right. So I started losing vision in one of my eyes. It turned out to be inflammation of the optic nerve, so they misdiagnosed me at first with MS, and it wasn't until several years later that they correctly diagnosed me with something called neuromyelitis optica, or NMO, which is similar to MS. So my optic nerves atrophied over time. I've had some spinal cord inflammation on and off over the years as well. So it's really an autoimmune condition where it affects mainly my neurological system.
Yeah, now we say the word blind, there's different definitions of it,
Sure.
or degrees of it, legally blind. So what can you see? Because I saw you handling some stuff over here. You were like, this goes here, this goes there, that goes there.
I mean, I can see some contrast of color. I see some light, some shadows. People do think blindness isn't all or nothing, but it's really on a spectrum. So I wouldn't say I'm, completely blind. I don't see just black. I see some light, some shadows, some color, a little bit.
Here's how God works. It's interesting. At first with MasterChef, you thought, as a writer, you thought this would be a great story. And as a great journalist, you experience it firsthand.
Yes.
And you start going along, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm not just going to write a good story. I'm really part of this competition.
Yeah, so I didn't expect to get as far as I did. I really just wanted to have some creative motivation and inspiration and go home and write maybe a funny essay about the experience. And then I started getting further and further along in the competition, and then realized, hey, maybe I can win this thing. And I'm very competitive, so I could never just throw the challenge under. And then so I just kept at it, and lo and behold,
Here
I guess.
you are, and
Yeah,
here you are
I
with
am.
2 restaurants. All right, let's talk about your restaurants.
Yeah, the first one was the Blind Goat. We opened it in 2019 in Bravery Chef Hall downtown. We're actually now building it out in Spring Branch, so we're going to move it into its own brick and mortar space with a full bar, everything in Spring Branch.
You said the magic words, full bar.
Yeah, and then Xin Chao we actually opened in the middle of the pandemic in September 2020, and that's been running pretty well too, and both have been recognized by the James Beard Foundation.
Yes,
so.
which by the way, aren't you, you were nominated recently, and
Yes.
they announced in a few weeks, right?
Yes, in June we'll find out, but yes, right now Chef Tony, who's my business partner at Xin Chao, we're both nominated for Best Chef Texas Region.
And if y'all don't know, James Beard, that's like the Oscar in food, right? Yes. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And like the Emmy for TV. Okay, what do we have right here?
Okay, so here first we've got my rubbish apple pie, which is like my famous scene
Yes.
on MasterChef. So I call it rubbish apple pie because when Gordon asked me, what do you think the pie looks like when I baked it on the show, I was like, I think it looks like a pile of rubbish. Oh. But for the restaurant, I wanted to do a Vietnamese version, so we swapped out some of the warm spices, and I put in lemongrass, ginger, kept the cinnamon, kept some of that, and then we do a fish sauce caramel on top, like a play on salted caramel.
And it's crazy. I love this, right? And what I love about it for me is that it's not too overwhelmingly sweet,
Yes.
right? But there's even a little taste of like saltiness in there. So
Yes,
I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
All right, define Vietnamese food, because again, I love that we're doing a lot of these segments this month in honor of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, because there are so many people who go, oh, Vietnamese food is Chinese. No, not everything's
Yeah.
Chinese, right? Not everything's
No.
Japanese. They're all because of where they're located.
Right.
It's basically driven by the foods that are grown naturally
Yes.
in those countries, right?
Yeah, I mean, all over the world it's like that. People will assume like all of the food from Africa is the same, but it's not. Like
And Africa's not a
Nigerian-
country, people.
Exactly. So it's the same in Asia. Southeast Asian food and Vietnamese food were very defined by fresh herbs, fresh produce, a lot of fish sauce, which I love, and just a lot of like bright, vibrant foods and colors on the dish. So that's a perfect example here. So what we have is a duck salad. So typically this is classically done with like cabbage, of ginger fish sauce vinaigrette, and then at the Blind Goat and at Xin Chao we have 2 different versions of this dish, but we actually will smoke the duck at Xin Chao, and then at the Blind Goat we actually smoke the whole salad with a smoking gun right before service. So here we have it like not smoked, since I didn't bring the smoking gun here to do for you on camera, but it's pretty classic, except we swapped out like the cabbage, we added radicchio, and then we just do some of the other fresh, vibrant stuff for this salad.
And you say fresh, vibrant. The flavors in this, everything is recognizable, number one, right? So very simple, but when you put them together, the flavors are so good.
Yeah, it's a Vietnamese food, and all good food really should be about a balance of flavor and texture and temperature.
Yeah. Okay. Will you let me handle the smoking gun when I come out to
Yes,
when I handle
sure. We'll let you do anything.
Oh my
Covered.
gosh, this is so good. For anybody who's intimidated on getting out of their comfort zone, because I always say you can travel the world in Houston, and sometimes so many people stay in their box. I was guilty of that. We ended up going to the same place again. Challenge yourself every weekend to go try something different. And in this city, I can think of no other city to be in this country to really enjoy food, and from your profession, to be able to do food.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Houston's the most diverse city in America. We've got so much great food, from, street foods, ethnic foods, like fine dining. So Houston's a great city to go out and try new foods in.
Yeah, I love it, because you get the cultural foods, and then we start doing the fusion thing. Like you could have like chitlins in this dish here, and it'd be like a Viet, Afro-Viet.
Yeah, it would be very
dish.
representative of Houston.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. Christine, thank you so much, and
you,
congratulations on all of your success.
Thank you so much.
And then I'm gonna have one more question. I know Travis is he's the producer. He's like, wrap. Okay. Your best advice for somebody going through a tough time, because it's so easy to think that life is over, and sometimes it's just beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, life is always challenging, and you never know what's going to be handed to you. But I think you just deal with what you have and make the most out of it. And I think I'm the prime example for being able to live out your dream in spite of whatever difficulties you may encounter.
Let the church say amen. All right, Christine is the subject of a documentary film project. It's an independent film, and they're looking to raise money to finish the project and get it entered into film festivals. To learn more about Christine Ha and her 2 restaurants, visit greatdayhouston.com, and we'll connect you.